Do the Royals have one of baseball's hottest duos at the plate right now? Let's talk about it.
It was good, y'all. It's your boy JD6 here with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man.
What's up, guys? Welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast, where you can check us out over here on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe to the show. Appreciate all of our subscribers out there, now officially over 750, on our way to 1,000. You can also hit us up on Spotify, listen to us on the go, or check us out on any of our social medias at KCSA Pod. Well, Chris, last week we talked about the case for Bobby Witt Jr. for AL MVP and his race with Aaron Judge. We've talked about the fact that the Royals have a top 5 rotation, not just in the American League, but maybe all of baseball, one that nobody wants to see in the playoffs. But Chris, it might also be time to talk about the Royals possibly having one of the hottest duos at the plate when it comes to Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinnie Pasquantino. So before we get into that, just take me around baseball. Who would you say right now are the other top duos in baseball on the American League side?
Yeah, I think the obvious one is obviously Judge and Soto. No one's topping them. I mean, those guys are insane. Gunnar and Santander out in Baltimore have been really nice. I always think of Naylor and Jose Ramirez. They're having real nice seasons. And then also sustain the division. I think when healthy, Royce Lewis and Byron Buxton are really dynamic. The issue is they are never healthy together, it seems like.
Not
But
at the same time.
Right. Those are kind of some of the names that come to mind.
Yeah, and you look at Boston, Rafael Devers and Jared Duran, or even Tyler O'Neill's have a good year. You always look down at Houston with Jordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve, and there are plenty of good numbers that we're going to talk about here in a minute. And obviously, like you said, Judge and Soto, I don't think anybody can match what those two guys are doing. They are top of the board in almost every statistical category as a tandem, as we're going to talk about here in a minute. But Chris, I am here to tell you today that as of August 8th, the Royals have one of the top 3, and I'm going to say 2, best duos in baseball right now at the plate with Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinnie Pasquantino, especially since the All-Star break. We know Bobby has had the historic month of July that we just have never seen outside of Lou Gehrig. Vinnie, however, you mentioned it to me this morning that Vinnie is on an absolute tear with an OPS north of 1,000 since the All-Star break. Power numbers are starting to pop up. He's hitting close to 270. Those two guys, I'm here to tell you that they are a force to be reckoned with, and that the rest of baseball needs to pay close attention to these two. And they might just be two of the best out there next to Judge and Soto. So I want to share some statistics here with you. So for those of you watching here on YouTube, you'll see this graphic, and I'll try and post this later. But this is just a handful of statistical categories I chose to dive into. Some of these I really dove into the numbers, and of course, these are going to change daily with games constantly going on, and the Royals having an off day. But average, OPS, slugging, hits, extra base hits, RBIs, Bobby and Vinny together are top 5 in every single one of these categories when looking at the other team's top hitters. Bobby, we obviously know, hitting over 347. Vinny, 270. So they're averaging 308 batting points. That is second in the American League, which is just behind Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who, of course, are both hitting over 300. So that's almost impossible to beat there. OPS, top 5 in baseball, close to 900. Slugging, over 500, top 5 in baseball, or again, American League. Hits, they have the most hits out of the top 2 guys of everybody in the American League, and that is including Soto and Judge, who are way up there and have a ton of hits. But Bobby and Vinny are on an impressive tear this summer, and I think it's time that they start getting some recognition. Extra base hits, top 3. They don't have the true power numbers that some of these other guys have, like Santander and Judge and Stan, and even Rafael Devers and Jared Duran, because they don't hit the long ball as much. But doubles, triples, they're right up there as a group. So when you look at this graphic, what stands out to you? What's the perception you have of these two guys at the plate right now?
My first thought goes to Vinny, because in these kind of stats, it's always the first guy that benefits when the guy behind him is raking. And when Bobby's as good as he is, he's all one of the best players. it would be a lot easier to pitch around and be okay giving him a walk or whatever, if you didn't have Vinnie Pasquantino and Salvi for that matter. No, he's, we got to throw Salvi in there. But like, if Vinnie wasn't hitting as well as he was behind him, if Vinnie wasn't as clutch or as had high numbers in running and scoring position, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Bobby's not getting the Aaron Judge treatment. Like, they're not like intentionally walking him. But they're also not maybe throwing him as many hittable pitches as he's getting right now, because that solo shot turns into an RBI double or whatever you're looking from Vinnie. So that's my first thought, is like, you already have the superstar. We know what you're getting with Bobby. Vinnie being so good that you can put him in that and they can compete with some of the best duos in the American League just really makes the impact of Bobby felt even more so.
Yeah, and I don't think at the beginning of the year this was something we probably thought was likely. I mean, Vinny coming off of injury, nobody really had any indication what he might look like at the plate this year. But you've got both these guys are top 5 in RBIs individually at 84 apiece. Incredible there. I mean, that 2-3 punch there at this 2-hole and the 3-hole, it's just it's almost a given that every single night one of them's either going to score a run or drive somebody else in. So those two guys to me are making such a significant impact at the plate that it can no longer get overlooked, not just locally, but nationally in baseball. It's time that these two are considered two of the best in baseball. And like we were talking about with Vinny, over 1,000 OPS since the All-Star break. His power numbers are starting to pick up here. He's on pace that he could finish close to 25. And we were talking earlier, is Vinny maybe a more improved offensive version of what we were hoping Eric Hosmer was 10 years ago? Hosmer had the doubles gap. He could drive the power there, but he never really had that much pop from a home run standpoint outside of the 1 year. And Vinny's showing that when healthy, he can drive the ball pretty well. He goes 2 home run night the other night, first time in his career. I think he's got like 5 home runs in his last 10 games or something. And again, Vinny's off to an incredibly hot July and August, but it doesn't even come close to scratching the surface of what Bobby's been doing. But yeah, these two to me have just been super impressive. And the fact that we can sit here and say that the Royals have 2 of the best hitters in baseball right now, one of the best duos in baseball. And again, that's not even including Salvi in this. Salvi's maybe struggled a little bit as of late, but if you flip-flop Salvi and Vinny, those numbers are still top 5 in almost all these statistical categories I've been throwing out here. So yeah, hits 278. I think to me that's the most impressive statistic on here, because those guys that are those big power run driving producers that you typically hear about, they're not always getting hits and getting on base. It's kind of a home run or strikeout type mentality. And Bobby and Vinny, even though they're not top 5, top 6, top 7 in home runs, they're finding ways to get on base consistently and make an impact night in and night out. And it's just a joy to see the Royals have 2 guys that are playing at the top of their position. Even defensively, Vinny's up there as a top 5 first baseman in baseball right now in most categories. Bobby, one of the best shortstops we've seen in quite a long time, of course. So yeah, just great to see. RBIs 3rd in baseball. Again, that's just incredibly impressive considering what Soto and Judge are doing. And there's some strong duos out there. I mean, I think Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez, like you said, very underrated. I think they often get overlooked because the rest of that lineup doesn't really do a ton for you outside of Stephen Kwan, but they're quietly still up there driving results. Then you think of even like the Texas Rangers, who have kind of fallen off as a team, but Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia, or Marcus Semien. You're talking about guys that have been at the top of their game the last couple of years from an offensive standpoint, and now the Royals have 2 guys that should be in that conversation.
Yeah, and I want to go back, like you were talking about Eric Hosmer and Vinny, and it's just crazy. Like, sure, they're both left-handed hit first baseman for the Royals, but how different they really are. Like, he's a first-round draft pick and is just as talented as can be. And like, Haas is still obviously has the better career at this point. Vinny is just getting started. But you watch Eric Hosmer in batting practice, and he might have the best batting practice of anyone that's like, even including Bobby. Like, that's how good Eric Hosmer, that's how talented he was in batting practice. You want him out there. He's hitting liners, he's hitting homers. It sounds different. Vinny doesn't quite have that, but he's so professional. He's such a professional hitter, so smart. Like 11th round pick, just a guy that's grinded and knows what he wants. There's a reason he leads the league in sack flies. There's a reason that he would have, maybe 18 home runs at Yankee Stadium and only has like 12 or whatever would be hit at Coffin because it's situational. Like, guy just knows what he's supposed to do at the plate, and he just performs when the team needs it. And it's really exciting to watch such a young guy. I mean, I know he's like 26, so he's not as young as maybe we think of him, but to just be such a technician at the plate that really nobody else outside of maybe Adam Frazier, like as far as a professional at bat gives, and like Adam Frazier doesn't hit for jack, but like you know what I'm getting at, just like the vet at the plate, Vinnie already in like not even 2 years worth of ABs has that already.
Yep. Last 7 days, 5 home runs. So basically every day in August so far, he has a home run to account for that a game's been played. 12 RBIs for the month already. He's batting over 300 at home, 306 at home, 8 home runs, 55 RBIs. His on-base percentage is up over 350. Big series against Cleveland, against St. Louis this weekend, as the Royals continue to push themselves not just into the wild card contention, but the division is just a few games away. It's just a few games out right now. Minnesota and Cleveland, again, they've been kind of coming back to the pack. Cleveland's pitching slowed down a little bit. They've lost, I think 6 of their last 7 or something like that, 5 in a row. But yeah, Bobby and Vinny obviously carrying the lion's share of the workload right now in this offense. When Salvi's not producing, those two guys clearly are. Would love to see that trickle through the rest of the lineup, of course, because the 5 through 9 hole has been struggling the last couple of weeks against better pitching. But yeah, Salvi, Vinny, Bobby, there's 3 guys. I don't know if you could put more trust in 3 guys on a team in anywhere else in baseball. I mean, even look at the Yankees right now. Soto and Judge are incredible, but the rest of that lineup hasn't really done a ton. Even now getting Jazz Chisholm, since Chisholm's joined them, he's hitting over 300 since he's joined the Yankees. And of course, that's a small sample size. But now they've got 3 guys. The Orioles have tons of guys up and down that lineup that are certainly capable. And of course, they bring in another home run hitter in Eloy Jimenez if he ever gets back to that. But Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and Santander, to me, are just an incredible trio. Then, heck, you've got the Mariners out on the West Coast who have got a lot of guys that can mash. Cal Raleigh's having an incredible season. Julio Rodriguez is definitely disappointed, but we know the power, superstar power, is capable. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to add on this. Vinny and Bobby, top 5 duo in baseball, and it's not 5, it's not 4, and I don't even think it's 3. I think it's number 2, behind those 2 crazy dudes up in New York that are just playing at a whole nother level. I don't know is capable of 2 guys at the same time. But any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I absolutely love Vinny, and we all know about it, I still think I would put them 4th. I know it's blasphemous to call them like, just because of like what Santander has done in his career in the homers, and then also Naylor and Jose Ramirez, just the professionals. Like, I still think I give those teams the nod. Like, if any of those fans are listening, like, I don't want to overreact to Vinny having a hot streak and catching up to what those duos have done all year. Now, Vinny definitely ability to, and obviously the Royals are in a position where if Vinny gets cold, Salvi typically gets hot, and boom, you just switch the names and you're having similar results. But like, it's very exciting because they're 2 young guys that, Vinny might be the next guy that you start working a contract extension. So I don't want to dismiss that. I want to give a little bit more respect to some of those guys that have been around it and been doing it for all season.
Yeah, they've been doing it for not just this season, but multiple years. Like we said, Vinny's still very young, coming off of injury. We've seen the flash, and now it's how long can he keep it up? If he keeps this up going into August, the Royals are going to have 2 guys that are possibly going to have 100-plus ribbies.
Maybe Salvi's not too far off.
Salvi's getting there too. So 3 guys. Both guys could be in the 25 home run club, which again is not very common for the Royals. Both guys could be top 10 in baseball for doubles. So yeah, it's really impressive to see. I guess this wasn't the part of the conversation I was going to have in this, but where would you put Vinny right now as far as offensive first baseman on the American League side? Who else would you take over him?
I think 3rd. And it's really close with him and Naylor. Like, Vladdy by far and away is 1. Like, just go look at Vladimir Guerrero's stats, especially. Like, he's last I saw, he was a single away from the cycle. Before we started this, he had one more AB. I don't know if he got it or not, but he was a single away from the cycle. Has a 20-game hit streak. Like, Vladdy is undoubtedly the best first baseman in baseball. Period. That's ahead of maybe Harper's the only one that's got an argument there, but Naylor and Vinnie, that's when you get to second. Like, Naylor's got got the pop and the experience. Vinnie on the hot streak, I think, has caught him a little bit. I'm sure Naylor still probably has a little bit better overall numbers on the season, but it's getting close there. No one else really comes to mind. Mountcastle is a platoon. Yandy Diaz is having a down year. There's no one in Houston. There's, Nate Lowe has never really been that good. Like, the American League first baseman is down, and Vinnie has a real good shot at being the second best first baseman by the end.
And if Tristan Casas hadn't been injured in Boston, maybe he's a guy that's got the capabilities. It's nice to look over at the Yankees, and even though they've got two of the best hitters that we've ever seen, they've had somewhat of a glaring hole at first base for the last 2 years with Rizzo kind of falling off there. But yeah, right. Vinnie, it's hard to take many other guys other than the two you mentioned ahead of him right now that you could plug in and feel just as confident that he's going to replicate what the same production that Vinnie's had right now. Obviously, with Bobby, no question there, best shortstop in baseball. We said this before. He's even though he doesn't have the same type of power that Gunnar Henderson's been showing at the plate, he's showing all 5 of those tools more consistently than probably anybody in baseball.
If Vinnie finishes the year strong, there's going to be lists next year when they're listing the top first baseman in baseball, and he's going to be 4th. Like, they're going to have the Harper, Freeman, Vladdy ahead of him. But, like, if he finishes strong and the Royals make the playoffs, his likability is going to boost him too, because people don't like Naylor, especially out in the East Coast. They don't like Naylor. So if Vinnie finishes the year strong, you're going to see these first baseman lists, and you're going to see Vinnie Pasquantino right under, like, Freddie Freeman's name, which is crazy to think.
Yeah. Again, you look at going into next year, you have Bobby, who will be unquestionably the best shortstop in the league. You get Vinnie, who's going to be a top 5 first baseman, potentially, with what you're talking about there. I know Salvi doesn't have the same level of production that he's had in the past, but he's still considered one of the better catchers across baseball. That's a good core right there. Obviously, there's still a lot of other positions that we got to fill in around the team there. But yeah, it's a good thing to see that Kansas City has 2 guys that you can lean on and rely on right now in this lineup, and 2 guys that can take it really far. I did want to look up real quick just to see if he's even cracked. I was trying to see if Vinny's cracked anywhere on the MVP voting yet. If
he's not quite there yet. He doesn't grade out overall as well as a good defensive first baseman. And, like, as I started thinking about it a little bit, I may have been a little overly aggressive on top 5. I mean, Christian Walker's having a great year.
Yeah, the best thing is the NL side has a lot of studs.
Walker, Alonso, and Olsen, even though all those guys are having varying levels of – Vinny's probably having a better season than Olsen and Alonso. Their career, their body of work may give them a boost, even though I think I'd personally put Vinny 5th right now by his showing, just because those guys are having down years. But, like, man.
Yeah. So one more time before we get out of here, I'm going to put this graphic back up here. Again, your Kansas City Royals have 2 of the not just hottest hitters of the month of July and August, but probably one of the best offensive duos in the league right now. 2nd in batting average behind Juan Soto and Aaron Judge with 308. Top 5 in OPS, top 5 in slugging. 1st in total hits combined of the top 2 players on these teams. Top 3 in extra base hits, and of course, top 3 in RBIs, as both are top 5 in baseball. So great to see. Love that it's happening here in Kansas City. Hope they can continue that down the stretch here as we continue to get closer and closer to playoff baseball. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there for this one. Again, if you guys haven't checked out some of our other Royal stuff lately, you can go back and check out a couple episodes where we talk about the case for Bobby Witt Jr. for MVP. Should he be considered in that conversation with Aaron Judge, and what would it take for him to catch up? We also have an episode breaking down the Royals' latest roster moves after the trade deadline, how that kind of shapes up the roster down the stretch here. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. He's Christopher Tenpenny. I am Keegan Russell. This has been another episode of the KC Sports Authority podcast. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys later.